Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into an already laggy episode. I am here with Mudcat Cody. What's up, dude?
Not too much, man. I'm looking at you right now, and this isn't meant to be a shot. I'm just wondering, is this Canadian smoke sneaking into your house?
Yeah.
It looks a little
Is it
looks a little hazy over there in the
What if my
Mario
eyes
household.
on the left-hand side.
You know what's messed up is we've been on this for 10 minutes and he was saving that because if it looked hazy, it looked hazy there too.
I was saving it.
I probably need to clean the camera. Let's try this.
Just waiting
No, it's
for
that Canadian smoke.
Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Doll to play in the background.
I really think there might be smoke in your house. I'm being
Yeah.
authentic.
It is hazy out, but I mean it's hazy for
Yeah.
you guys as well. You
Yep.
know, it's funny at work. It's like you're telling people who are in vastly different parts of the country, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of crazy over here in Ohio and to the east of us, Pennsylvania. It's all hazy over here right now.
Little Worcester, Ohio, yesterday was putting out like the highest recordings in the state, which is super annoying for whatever the little parameters are. I don't even know what those numbers mean, but this town of 25,000 people is like Cheech and Chong over here.
Speaking of Cheech and Chong, we got Alex joining us today.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, dude?
Not much, man. Just trying to cough up all that Canadian fire, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We're doubling down on this, huh?
Yeah, it's not my favorite smoke. Let's put it that way.
Alex, big moves in New England this week, huh?
Kinda. I mean, we
why?
extended.
Why?
Well, because it opened up. It actually opened up cap space, extending Davante Parker.
Oh, the way that they did.
Yeah. So this way, it allows them to have. I think it's like $3 million more to add on if they want to get D-Hop.
Oh, so it was not a move deterring D-Hop. It was a move for D-Hop.
Yeah, it was to make it makes more space. And this way, worst case scenario, you know, the Patriots don't get Parker. At least it's, you know, we've got somebody there.
Depth. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
D-Hop. If they don't get D-Hop.
It sounds like a smart enough move that Bill wasn't involved. Sounds like a GM move, not a Bill Belichick move.
Yeah, Bill, man, great coach, not the greatest GM.
Yep.
But what does it do to Juju's value?
What, Parker getting extended? Nothing.
Yeah.
Did Juju have value? That's an interesting question.
I mean, I would like to think realistically that if Juju plays 16 games, he can get around that 1,000-yard mark.
I think that's fair.
Touchdown
that
wise,
might be
I don't know.
That might be wide receiver 38. So I still don't know. That's like
I think he can end up being a flex play, you know, at certain weeks. But I like him as a Pats fan. Do I want to roster him on my team? Probably not. But I'm excited.
Dude, I know I texted you guys this, but I feel like I need to say it on air as well. The conversation that you guys had about Juju, where you're like, you know what? I'm sick of all you Ohioans talking bad about Juju. You truly, I mean this in no other way to shade you, Alex, or you, Cody. This dude over there loved Juju.
I
The first
did.
round of we could even pull. I probably have these recordings. We can even probably pull the first round that we did this podcast. I think Juju was your number one that year. I think
He
your
was,
number one
and
wide
another
receiver.
year, I didn't even bring this up to you, Mario, but another year, it was one year where we rented one of the cabins we drafted in, and I think I drafted OBJ, and then right after me, you drafted Juju, and we're both like, I regret that, and we swapped our first round picks. It was like pick 8 and 9, I'm gonna say. Or
No
something like that.
way.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You silly
We
fools.
we do that quite a bit at drafts, dude. We do a quick
Big
swap
trades.
of a player. Yeah.
Yep.
I sold you George Kittle in our auction the last year.
You did. You did.
And then I
bought it
traded him
$1
for
less
him
than you
later
paid.
in the season. I traded for him at the perfect time last season. It was like
You
week
did.
7 or something.
Right before Purdy showed up.
Yeah.
I feel like you've done that with multiple players though. Like you're the only person I know who will make a trade for a player, then trade him away, and then get him back. Like
I just think everything's liquid.
Well, and in an auction draft, he just like a player is a good deal, and so he'll draft a third tight end
Right.
before he has a single receiver.
Oh,
It's
we
like, okay, Mario, sell me one of those tight ends.
I had already. Yeah, I'll be the first to critique my own strategy. I do love doing that because I think I could trade whoever the heck I want, but my strategy is always pretty rough going into a lot of drafts. Like I get very frazzled, but I try to stick to value based, and I lose it a little bit. Also in the auction league, which I enjoy doing this, so it's not a knock. I also do the auctioneer, which is fun, and we do have Alex coming this year, so we might have a new auctioneer if he's down.
Alex and I could do it together, depending on what my involvement looks like too.
Well, I thought you were my co-owner.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think
Okay.
I know we talked that. So yeah, I just
I'm
didn't know.
down to drink some booze and scream some names.
Yeah, Alex already said he's committed to a bottle of tequila for that weekend. So
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
here's the deal though. He's got to be limited to like 3 shots pre-draft because this is going to
And then
take 18 hours if he drinks 3/4 of a bottle and then tries to auction his players off.
It's gonna be bad.
You
Yeah.
don't know.
It's gonna be like a South Park episode. You're just gonna be offended by every impression I do. It's gonna be terrible.
Well, with that being said, the only piece of news I did have to talk that we had just hit in the intro was Davante Parker being signed. So, I mean, did you guys have anything before we go further? Oh, I see
have
a
a dad
dad
joke.
joke in here. Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is I had to just look back at some of my notes to see what the answer was because I couldn't remember it. That's what you just saw me scurrying because I was like, oh, I put a joke in here and I don't remember the answer.
What did I do?
What type of bird has the worst manners?
Ah,
How do I not sound like a 10-year-old?
do it. Sound like a
He-
10-year-old, Alex.
Peacock.
No. It's a mockingbird.
Oh, my God. No.
It's mocking Jay,
Actually-
moron.
Actually,
Oh, you're right.
I knew what you meant.
Oh,
I was with you.
Thank you.
Hunger Games.
It's probably, if
style
anybody has
Converse to the
headphones in,
wrong
I'm
bird.
sorry.
No, it's actually on
so-
point. I think you hit the volume well.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But just not the right
Right
thing.
octave, wrong bird, dummy.
This
All right,
could be another
well-
dumb question. Is a mockingjay even a real bird? And there's a blue jay. Is there a mockingjay?
I truly have no clue. I'm not very good. You know who would know is Brian, but Alex seems to know here. Or we could get what he answers.
No.
We want to know what you think, Alex.
I was just like, do they just breed a blue jay and a mockingbird together?
That feels like the wrong answer.
Like a French bulldog? Is that like? Let's just mix it. Let's go to the lab.
You get it?
Well, it's so funny you say that because it appears mockingjay is not a real bird, but literally highlighted as I Googled it is a jabberjay, which was created in Capital Labs by Dr. K. So there have been jays created in labs. It is not a mockingjay. It's a jabberjay.
Oh, somebody's
Which, isn't that
messing up.
isn't the bird in the movie a jabberjay?
You should look that up, Cody.
Maybe
What bird was
maybe
in
the
Hunger
lab
Games?
Because
is
they do-
from the movie. Maybe that's a thing from the movie.
Maybe this is actually a historical
Okay,
movie.
this is good.
and
This
it
is good.
wasn't
You ready for this?
fiction.
Guess the website.
Fox.
Hunger Games fandom.
Oh no! Oh no! All right, we got to get.
So everyone
rolling,
knows Jabberjay does not appear to be a real word.
Oh. Boo.
No, you're with me, Cody. You're with me.
Yep.
We're both digging our grave. All right.
Yep.
So today we have, I don't know if this name will stick, but we're going to call it Debategate Part 1. And what today's episode is for is we kind of did this with our rankings. I mean, it was very similar, but now it's kind of free for all. We want to kind of hit on some players. There'll be a couple of these episodes throughout the season that like we might be grossly different on, or we just think one person's too high or too low. With that,
our differences are big on these players. This is not like, hey, we're 3 spots difference.
We're trying to grab the biggest and somebody that we haven't talked about ad nauseum already. Like Kyle Pitts was obviously who I've talked about a ton. Travis Etienne, we've talked about a ton. So we're trying to keep it different, make sure we're grabbing different players. They have maybe been slightly touched on. One of the players that gets called out today, we cracked the surface with, but not a full go at them. So today we'll really get into that. And the person calling out the other person, there's 3 of us. So one is going to do their best as an unbiased judge. And it's not like the judge will pick who makes the better points. It's not who they I shouldn't say agree with. It's not who's closer in their ranks, but if they think that one person made better points, then that's who they pick. You guys cool with that?
I'm cool with it. I'm going to add one thing that we don't have in the notes, but will be helpful. So we have the rankings of who is being called out, the defendant, let's say. The person who is doing the calling out, if they would give their rank of that player as well, so we can really see the difference.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll have to probably pull the ranks up. I'll pull them up as up. Well, you two start. So Alex, you go ahead and call out Cody first. Tiffany, what you walked into was an absolute mess of an intro, but it was fun.
We do not know birds
at all.
Welcome to Magic Mike.
Alex doesn't even have movies anymore. Alex, kick us off, dude.
Yeah, I typically refer to Cody as being a pretty smart guy. He wears glasses, so
that's a bad hill to go stand on. I'll tell you that right now.
And then when I was looking at his rankings, I decided that those are non-prescription glasses. Putting Amari Cooper at 17 just kind of doesn't make a ton of sense to me. If you're having Cooper at 17, I think that you just don't have any trust or upside for Deshaun Watson. I mean, when he had Hopkins, his last 3 years, he was like wide receiver 1, 3, and 5, and he had Will Fuller there. There was other targets, and the Browns spent the most money on a quarterback guaranteed to get a top 5 QB, and they're also in a division that is going to be tough. It is, I think, one of the better divisions in football. And with me thinking that, I don't see the Browns being just a ground and pound team. They didn't pay Deshaun Watson all that money to throw for 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns. So Amari Cooper has to be in the top 10. I feel like that's his floor is 10 right now. Like I think he has a career year this year.
What did he finish last year? Do you know? Do you have it off rip, anybody?
I want to say it was 12, but I could be
wrong. I think you're right. It was either 11 or 12.
Okay.
With Jacoby Brissett for most of the time.
Yeah, here's the problem. He was a lot better with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, but Jacoby Brissett's limited.
He is limited, but I got to go with what happened on the field with Deshaun Watson. And I think it's going to get better, Alex. I really do. And I want to say, I think I was the high guy on Amari Cooper last year. I think I remember getting beat up for how high I had him, because I think I had him at, I'm going to say 14, but everybody was off of Amari Cooper last year. Yes. You know, this is one that I could definitely be wrong on. I've got players pretty tight in that area. If I look at my wide receivers, maybe 11 through 17, it's a pretty tight window, and I could be swayed to maybe do a little bit of movement in there, but I don't think I see top 12. I mean, I look at what he did with Deshaun Watson, which I believe was mid-20s on points per game when he was with Watson. And I know it's a short sample size. I know Watson wasn't his normal self. All those things are true. But I look at that, And then I look at the additions they made to the offense, both with Tillman in the draft and then the trading for Moore. And I just don't know if I see room for him to go up. I think I see the opportunity to regress a little bit for Amari, not being the only focal point of the offense. And I know DPJ did some damage last year, but I think Moore is more of a threat to Cooper than DPJ was for me.
Really?
Yeah.
A guy who couldn't start on the last team he was on. All right.
And I should say it another way. I think him added to the offense makes the other guys more of a threat overall. That's a better way to say it than just to say straight up.
What's up, Willie?
And so I definitely hear what you're saying. Like, I got Amari Cooper love, and I think this is one I could be wrong on. But I look at what he did with Watson. I look at the additions to the offense. You know, if Deshaun Watson gets back to old Deshaun Watson, and if he throws for 5,000 yards, I'm going to be wrong. But at this moment, I'm not betting on that personally, just based off of what we saw last year. It could be better, but I don't know if I see that.
What do you have his Deshaun Watson's yards for?
11-20-ish.
Deshaun Watson.
I apologize. Let me get you that. I was giving you
It's
my
all
Amari
right.
Cooper.
The defendant is pulling up his public records.
He is 4,400.
It's not too shabby.
No, it's not, because
It's not great,
that was
but
my question.
I think it's an improvement over last year, but it's not the old Deshaun Watson is what that number is to me.
I mean, at 4,400 yards, I'm being as unbiased as I can in this situation. As somebody who goes to Browns games, they're not my team, but I do root for them. You know, I'd like to see them be successful. As me being as unbiased as possible, I can't base anything off of the limited amount of time that Deshaun Watson played.
It's a fair statement. It is.
There's literally nothing that, like, I'm going the same way with Russell Wilson, where I'm like, I can't base everything off. It's a new coach, new system. With Deshaun Watson, he played limited games. Like, I'm looking at it as a fresh start. Elijah Moore just hasn't shown me anything. He was he was the only guy at the Jets for a season that was healthy. And when he did play, he got targets. He didn't look amazing, and for some reason, he didn't start. I still like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like Njoku, but those guys have, their ceilings aren't super high. Realistically, they're not.
It's the group capping Cooper for me. It's not so much that hey, there's another guy that's going to go for 1,300 yards. That's definitely not my.
There's going to be somebody. There is going to be a prime target. It's the same thing with the Chiefs. There's going to be a guy that the quarterback is going to target his best receiving option. It's going to be like that on every team. It's like with A.J. Brown. You know he's going to be good even with Davante Smith there because Jalen Hurts is going to target him. I think Amari Cooper, because of the lack of talent that is around him, he doesn't have a Davante Smith to where he's going to get a ridiculous amount of targets. I honestly think he can have a career year this year. I mean, last year I was low on him. This year I'm very high on him.
I think targets is actually, and I'm not going to help my case here, but I actually think targets is your right approach, Alex, if you think he's going to get fed targets. Because I think he only had about 130 last year. Wasn't a big number. Yeah,
I mean, it's not a huge number. It's not a low number, but I think it's easily over 150 this year.
Yeah, if you said I think he can get 145, I think that's the right approach to making the case for Amari Cooper here to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen because I just think there's enough guys to pass around. So I'm just taking that side of it. But I think that's
I don't love the receiving core enough to think that they're going to do enough to, deter targets from Amari Cooper. I just don't.
Here's the thing. It's going to have to be a career year because last year was a career year. I mean, he's never topped 1,200 yards and he had 1,160 last year. And so,
he made Dak Prescott look like a better quarterback. I'm just being honest.
That might be fair, but last year's as good as he's been his entire career. So when you say he's going to have a career year, if you think
he's never topped 1,200
guy,
think about the quarterbacks he's had, and you've got to understand Dak Prescott was healthy for one season for him, and he was injured, I think, for every other season at some point. And then when he was at the Raiders, who was the quarterback? Derek Carr for a little bit, and then he got hurt. Like And we saw how Derek Carr was last year. I mean, I don't think he's amazing this year.
But he gave Davante over 12.
Yeah, what do you have, 170 targets?
It's 68 on 68.
Yeah.
It's true. That part.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And Davante, I realistically looked at as Davante is arguably the best receiver in the league. I'm not saying Amari Cooper is arguably the best receiver in the league, but what I'm saying is he is good. I think he's a top 15, borderline top 10 receiver in the league, and he's going to get targeted like crazy this year. There's no way he's worse. No way.
Well, but he was really good last year. When you say there's no way he's worse, that's a fairly bold statement. Like,
The
Well,
Browns
year.
are trying to win. Deshaun Watson is going to sling it. In that division, they have to throw the ball.
So, Cody, do you have anything? Because I have some points here, and then I think I'm going to call it.
Yep, let's do it.
First point, you both had him at 16 last season.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
So we were the high guys, probably.
I think somebody may have had him at 15, but you were
I
higher
really
than
thought
me.
I was high on him. Yeah.
I was.
So
I
we
was
were
very
close to
low.
where he finished, which
Mhm.
is surprising.
I don't know if this is judged correctly, but I have to say it how I'm going to say it. I think that I'm going to give round 1 to Alex here, and here's why. If you think Deshaun Watson could get 4,400 and in your top 10, so that means he has a pretty significant amount of TDs, unless he spreads the ball out more than we've ever seen, because, I mean, prior to this, to come into the Browns, it was always D-Hop, which I get it. D-Hop was in his prime at that time. This is, I don't want to say a washed Amari Cooper because he showed nothing of being washed, but an aging Amari Cooper. But then really, here's the thing that happened is I have Amari Cooper even lower than you at 19. And I think I've been convinced to move him up somewhat to some capacity. So
what do you think that looks like for you? I think that's an interesting question. What does that move up look like?
Probably 4 spots.
Okay. And I think that here's where it gets hard. I kind of mentioned this, but I think at least for me, when you look at everybody starting with, pretty much T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Davante Smith, Amari Cooper, Chris Olave, I'm not going to slight anybody for how you move and jive those guys. They're all right there for me. So I can live with that in terms of 4 spots up. I can live with that. 15. Yep.
Yeah, and it really does come down to like
is around like if the guys you just named, what is the talent around those guys?
Like
you're saying they have more talent around them, you're saying?
Yeah, DK's got a legit starter.
I do think Alex is
Keenan's
underselling Elijah. That I don't think we've seen Elijah at his
I think
best.
that's more Browns bias, honestly.
Maybe
he was productive in like 10 games his rookie year.
Yeah,
it was a
but
short
then
season.
he fell
many
off
games without Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but they threw for like 400 yards on the season last year. To some point,
he didn't even start. They pulled him.
Yeah.
They didn't even start him half the season.
Yeah, I understand that, but like
they were,
and there was obviously turmoil with
to
that
get
team.
rid of him. They wanted to trade him.
The decision not to start him was clearly wrong based on the productivity of their offense. That's what I would say.
I'm not necessarily saying the Jets' offense wasn't a dumpster fire last year, but I hope Elijah Moore is as good as what he looked like at Ole Miss. I just don't know. I can't put stock into something to where, like, from what I've seen, he looked okay his first year. He didn't blow me away. And
his second year was definitely bad. Yep.
Well, in his second year, it's just you didn't see anything. So it's just too much for me to put something in.
Here's what I'll do for you, Alex. I'm going to give you 2 catches. I'm going to give you a few yards. You're getting no more touchdowns. I moved him up 1 spot.
we are going to keep it rolling so we can get in all these guys. Looks like I get to call out Alex next.
No.
We're gonna stick theme here. Thank God I didn't do any Deshaun Watson call-outs because then it would just be too much. There may be some overlapping conversations, so we'll try not to get too much into those. But I'm going to call Alex out. He has Nick Chubb at 18. This is blasphemous to me. This is crazy. Like, if your argument is you're expecting him to get hurt and you have him there, then sure. But I assume typically how we rank almost everybody else is that we do not include for injuries. RB6, RB12, RB8, RB11. Those are the last 4 years in points per game. Has never been out of the top 12 in points per game. In 2019, he actually saw 33 targets in 8 games with no Kareem Hunt. offense is over here saying, hey, we're going to get Nick Chubb involved in the pass game more. We know we want this to be Deshaun's team, but we're going to have to get Nick Chubb involved because he is a stud. But that you could say that we need to see that first. But even if I know what your response is going to be, I already had it written down. I already had it planned. and I just think this is Deshaun's team and they throw a ton, which is funny because it was already said on here. But that's coming from Mr. I don't live in the hypotheticals. He has said it to me a million times, but technically this would be living in the hypotheticals because you are saying, I assume that Deshaun is going to be throwing a ton more. What do you have to say about Nick Chubb at 18?
This is the one running back to where I'm waiting to see what the Browns do if they add another legit running back that is going to be there for receiving downs. If they don't and they plan to give Chubb the actual entire backfield and turn him into an every down back, which if I'm the Browns, I would do, then I'm moving Nick Chubb probably into the top 8. But I'm waiting to see what the Browns actually do because if they do get a receiving back, and I do think this team does end up throwing a ton, and the type of system that Deshaun Watson has run is more of a spread offense, which Chubb isn't very good out of a spread formation. He's still solid, but he's not as good as he is when he's coming out of like a power I or a single back. I'm putting him at his floor if they add somebody.
Unprecedented floor.
Yeah. But that's my floor if they end up adding somebody to do a third down. If I think that they're like, all right, we need somebody to catch the ball more, that's where I'm putting them. I'm still waiting for that. Obviously, the season hasn't started. And if they don't add anybody who I think is going to be relevant to take the third down, I am going to move them up. But as of right now, I expect them to add somebody. I still think there's a chance they re-sign Kareem Hunt. So
I've been pitching Lenny.
And if Lenny's there, it's
I still wonder, like, if they signed Lenny, like, let's get away
who's a
from
better
Kareem
pass
Hunt.
catcher than Kareem Hunt on NFL career wise. I mean, Lenny's caught 100 passes before.
Yeah, it's more of an opportunity.
Tom Brady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more of opportunity than it is skill wise, but
yeah.
But it really depends on that. I just all the hype the Browns defense has been getting this offseason, I've just heard this, pony before. And I realistically don't think they're going to be a top 15 defense. And what that turns into is them being down, throwing the ball a ton. And if they add anybody for third down, I think it drastically changes Chubb's fantasy. Chubb is
But it can't be lower than 18. You're saying 18 is the absolute lowest you know.
Yes.
Because I think even if they added somebody,
he's still a top 20 back. I mean, realistically, I think Chubb is a top 3 back in the NFL. I just think the Browns are dumb. They don't know what to do with players.
They've done good with Chubb.
But not really. I mean, Chubb should be a top 3 back every single year in fantasy. If you just fed him the ball 25, you're paying him. Yeah. Give him the ball 25 times.
It's like I don't disagree with that because you pay the man, you shouldn't withhold their touches. You'd have no clue what happens in the future. I think they've always kind of kept him on a touch count. Last year was the most touches he's ever had in a season, I'm pretty sure. So
it was a big number last year. It
was huge. I think it was his first.
I'm going to save it
because they wanted to compete.
Go ahead, Cody.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Did you have anything else? That's good.
Anything else, fellas? There's a ruling. A judgment is about to come down.
Oh, I already know.
And I hand out contempt of courts like they're candy.
Well, make sure you give Mario a Tootsie Roll or candy corn.
Because it's blasphemous. You know it.
I think there's a hole in your theory, Alex. And this isn't just Nick Chubb love. It's a hole in your fundamental approach there. And this is, everybody's got a different view on things. The problem I have is you said, well, what if they, look at what Kareem Hunt's done? What if they sign a Kareem Hunt replacement? It didn't matter last year. Last year, Nick Chubb got over 300 carries. And for the first time in his career, he did exactly what you're telling the Browns they should do. And so if ever a time you would say, hey, Nick Chubb is the bell cow of this team like we've never seen before, it should be today based on what they did last year. And so with, that idea of like, well, yeah, but if they sign somebody, it's going to eat into it. Everything they showed you last year is that they decided Nick Chubb is the answer.
And
they took
Jacoby
Kareem Hunt
Brissett
off
was
of the field.
quarterback. And
Jacoby
Deshaun
looked good.
Watson had a new.
Jacoby was better than Deshaun.
But that's my point. Like, it doesn't matter because you know what Jacoby was able to do and what his limitations were. And with Deshaun Watson, he didn't know the offense. It is going to be a different offense. But again, I get it. He is a top 10 running back. If he's the bell cow and there's nobody legit there, he is arguably top 5.
Even if they sign somebody, and I know I pitched Lenny, but even if they sign somebody, to me last year, because like they didn't have QB play before.
Well, if it's
so this
Dalvin
whole idea,
Cook.
this whole idea, real quick, this whole idea of like if they, it was Jacoby Brissett last year, that's why they had to run the ball. Jacoby Brissett was the best quarterback they've had since Nick Chubb's been in Cleveland, and so that's not like
that's a bad take.
No, it's not.
It's
statistically he was.
He got easily.
How many yards per game did he pass last year?
More than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. It's irrelevant what Deshaun Watson did last year.
Jacoby Brissett, I don't know. I'm going to say it was 180 something, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it was like that.
I think they have said Nick Chubb is the bell cow. They know he's the answer. And even on a team that's going to throw a lot, if you say Deshaun Watt's going to throw a lot, there's still damn near 300 carries to be had by a bell cow. And I'm sorry, damn near 300 carries is an RB18. Just isn't going to happen.
2,611 games, so a little over 200. Yeah, like 240. I mean, that's this guy. He was.
How many games was it? 11.
11. That's not
236.
It's not. He was 12 for 6 TD to INT ratio.
So that would have put him like
middle of the league, I think. Maybe like a little 20th, 18th,
20th.
Yeah. That 20 is the best QB play.
But you also got to like.
We had a good year, Baker.
It was, yeah. I mean, how many touchdowns did he have in those games? Maybe like 13 something.
Jacoby, I think 12, you said.
12.
12. Okay, so
about a TD a game.
But again, we're comparing it to past years of Browns. We're comparing it to past years.
If you want to compare dog crap to cat crap, go ahead and do it. But
it was his career year for Jacoby. I'll have you know.
And that's, I mean, it's not a great year. It was a bottom.
It's great for a Browns QB.
That's so sad. I feel bad for you guys.
But it's
you should. You should.
Like we're talking about, it was a career year. It's like
we look at what Nick Chubb did with, admittedly, not the greatest QB play ever, but the best the QB play has looked for this team in Nick Chubb's career, in my opinion. And it doesn't scare me that Deshaun Watson is all of a sudden the quarterback. We see running backs succeed all the time in good offenses with good quarterbacks.
For sure.
Having a good quarterback doesn't inherently lower the value of a running back, and I think you can make the argument it could upgrade it. And so the fact that they said this guy's a bell cow, we benched Kareem Hunt, I think there's holes in this theory of like, hey, he's not going to see the field, he's not going to see the touches he saw last year.
I think if they sign somebody, he doesn't get the same amount of touches. If they don't, Kareem Hunt was injured and didn't play. That's the difference. Close. But what I'm saying is, Mario wins this, but what I'm saying is Kareem Hunt was injured and didn't play. So like
and benched.
I mean,
and not figuratively benched, not literally benched, but like they took him off the field.
His snap percentage was not high last year.
It wasn't. He didn't look good. He was injured.
Slower.
He looked a lot slower. He was not a third down back. Like he was like, oh, you're the benefit of the doubt, a better catch or pass catcher than Chubb is, apparently. But it's not like I would say Kareem Hunt is like phenomenal, but they got a legit third down running back who was fast and could catch. I think it can change. But that's a big if.
Hypothetical.
It is.
Hypothetical.
If I'm the Browns, I would sign a third down guy.
I wouldn't. I would just.
You're going to be down.
Just let it ride with Nick Chubb.
I love Nick Chubb. I hope he has a career year this year. I would love to see him finish top 3. I would love it.
Me too. Speaking of top 3, Cody, where do you? I have no segue here.
I was gonna say,
dude, Robbie has him top 3. Robbie has this guy top 3. So I know you want to talk to me about somebody. So go ahead, do it.
I do, and I'll say, I've talked previously about Dak and some of the things that I still think this Cowboys offense is going to do this year, and what Dak has done when healthy as a QB in this league from a fantasy perspective and putting up numbers. Mario, Ceedee Lamb at 10. I just can't understand it. I mean, I look at this guy and he's, I think, 23 years old. He's in an offense with a quarterback that's shown he can throw for 5,000 yards. He's done it before. When healthy, Dak has been a locked and loaded top 12 QB in games he's healthy. We're looking at a guy that was wide receiver 5 last year. It's not like he led the league in targets. I mean, he was effective with everything he got. It wasn't like they gave him 180 targets and he just fell ass backwards into wide receiver 5. He earned every last bit of wide receiver 5. I look at the lack of Zeke and I think, hey, this team is going to fling the ball around. And I don't see a scenario where this young rising star wide receiver with his quarterback he's used to drops from wide receiver 5 to wide receiver 10. I don't see it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the Ceedee hype is getting pretty wild, and I get it. Like I had him wide receiver 4 last season, and I am biased about this because I've already been in one huge argument about this, which I have gone from 12 to 10. But I cannot wait to see this offense, and I feel bad for Dallas Cowboys fans because I am real low on it, and I'll tell you why. They fire the true offensive mind, and I might be in the minority with this. I don't know if this is a Dallas thing that they hate him. They fire Kellen Moore, who I actually thought was a pretty good offensive coordinator. They hire Schottenheimer, who was a consultant for the team last year, was out of the league the year before, and then in 2020, I think was with the Seahawks. But either way, Mike McCarthy is going to be calling the plays, supposedly. Is that like this is
it was pretty bad for Davante
coming up. This is, well, Davante really started going nuts with LaFleur.
I'm pretty sure Davante
you could
was
say he was.
Pretty good
you could say Jordy was good with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, you're right.
Davante started
That's a better
going
way to say it. McCarthy's not had wide receiver.
Davante started going off when Jordy was gone.
I think that was
what it is, Alex. Well, we don't got to worry about the dates. What it is McCarthy back-to-back catapulted 2 receivers into clear wide receiver 1 category.
He's a Super Bowl coach. Yeah. But he had Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not Dak Prescott is not Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
I feel like sometimes I'm pandering to Tiff because I'm like all in on Green Bay and I'm all out on Dallas. So I think Mike McCarthy is going to be exposed. Brandon Cooks is an addition that matters more than people are accounting for because he had an off season last year in terrible Houston. Now we all forget last year he was the best value of drafts. This year it's like, who cares about this guy? I don't know. Like the 1 year fall off for Brandon Cooks is crazy. Michael Gallup is fully healthy. He's a guy that Alex specifically loved. Brian specifically loves, but we saw him with his ACL coming off of ACL. He was a little bit slower. He obviously wasn't doing the best. Ceedee was hyper.
True that.
Everybody. I guess I'm going in this ship alone. Ceedee was hyper targeted last season. Like hyper targeted.
Disagree.
160, 150.
He finished higher in points per game than where he finished in targets. I'm pretty sure. If that makes sense. Essentially, he was. If he was fifth in points, he was 6th or 7th in targets, for example. So like. Well, I don't think he was
jumped. His target number jumped to like 40 to 50 than ever. I think it was 114.
Well, yeah, I mean he's a 22 turning 23-year-old. Of course, that age of receiver is going to earn their wide receiver 1 credentials. And what did you want him to do when he was 13? Before his ball dropped, you wanted to see 160 targets?
This is his 3rd year. We saw Jamar Chase get these targets. We saw JJ get these targets.
156.
You're going to use that as the standard?
156. He's never eclipsed 125 before this. Now,
it's his 3rd year.
Yeah, what?
What world are we living in, guys?
We're not talking Justin Jefferson. You're setting Justin Jefferson, who could be an all-time great, as the standard rather than what is the actual standard. Generally, it takes wide receivers
the standard is gone.
to become an absolute superstar.
So maybe you're right. I understand. And to be fair, his advanced metrics all show that he earned these targets. All of them show it. But I'm going to play the past a little bit because last season there was absolutely nobody. It's the case about Amari Cooper. There was nobody there. Never has been a top 15 wide receiver when Amari Cooper was there. I get it. Amari's gone and Brandon Cooks is not replacing Amari. I understand. He hits wide receiver 5 in his 3rd season. I actually have the note on here. I get that not everyone can be Jamar or JJ, but there was no pass catchers. None. Schultz wasn't even there for a lot of the season. It was Ceedee and Noah Brown with Tony Pollard out the backfield.
Their QB.
Yeah, but he played good. It's not like he was bad.
Who?
I can't even think of his name.
He didn't put up 5,000-yard Dak numbers, though.
What?
Dak hasn't put up 5,000 yards since he broke his ankle, and that was on a pace for that amount for that season. I know he might have.
I think he's
before.
regularly close to that pace. That's fair to say. Dak's been exceptionally good. We talked about Dak on the QB rankings. Like points per game, he's been solidly in the top 12 every single year in points per game.
I'm not talking. What I'm going to say next is not necessarily talking fantasy, but he hasn't hit 5,000 since 2019. That was 4,900. 2020 was off to a hot start. Had 1,800 yards. I think I want to say it was like 4 games or something. Yeah, he was just off to a hot start. 2021 came back for 4,400. Like I'm not saying that's a bad season because it was 37-10. It wasn't a bad season. Cooper Rush. Thank you. Thanks. I tried to show it. It's either lagging or thank you. Last year he went 28, 23, and 15. And I know a lot of these interceptions weren't really his fault. I get it. I'm not necessarily like hating on Dak even. I just think this offense, and I'm getting winded and I'm repetitive, so I'll stop here. This offense takes a hit without their offensive coordinator.
Okay, I'm gonna add. Okay, and I'll add one more thing to my point. In the games with Dak, because we spent so much time talking about Cooper Rush versus Dak. In the Dak games when Dak was healthy, week 7 through 18, he was wide receiver 3. So the idea of like
he was wide receiver 6 or 7 in the first 7.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like we have Dak healthy and he was wide receiver 3 with Dak. Why would we project him as wide receiver 10? That's cut and dry to me.
Yeah, I imagine this offense actually being different. I mean, I've already said it, but I understand.
It's going to be
you
different.
Expect them to throw more without Zeke? I agree.
It's going to be different.
Mike
Murphy might want to run the ball more like he says, but realistically, they're going to have to throw the football. This is a passing league. They're not getting anywhere without passing the football. They added Brandon Cooks. Realistically, Brandon Cooks' ceiling has always been around that 1,100 yards and 5 touchdown mark ballpark. That's always been Brandon Cooks' ceiling. Now he's a little bit older. I think he's good, but I think what him and Gallup do is open enough to where Dak. I don't love Dak. I think he can throw over 4,800 yards. I think he probably leads the league in interceptions again, but I think he can throw 35 touchdowns and 18 picks.
I mean, it makes more of a case for all the pass catchers if you got a gunslinger. It always will and always does.
And one thing that helps this case that I'll give you this part, Mario. You know, a couple years ago when we saw 2-star receivers on teams, I really struggled adapting to the idea of 2 wide receivers being able to succeed on the same team. You know, we look at it with T. Higgins, we look at Jamar Chase, we look at Tyreek Hill and Waddle. And I'm just at the point where that second receiver doesn't scare me as much as it used to if the offense is going to throw for close to 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
It just keeps working. And so
and Cooks isn't even at those guys' stature, to your point.
Right.
At this point in his game.
But I had to come around on that because it scared the bejeebies out of me for a while. Is bejeebies a hillbilly word too, or is that one you guys have heard before?
No, it's just
I think
from
I heard
the
that
50s.
in like Latchkey, 1995.
It's just from the 50s, Cody.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep us moving here.
Afraid of the dark?
Let's quicker rulings on the next 3.
Okay. I think I got a little repetitive there on that last one.
I did too. I said more. Yeah.
I have to call you out now, Cody. And it's actually funny that you just mentioned this guy's name. And I hate this one. There's been a couple guys that I've been ranked lower on this season that I actually like, which has made it hard to have the same sort of conviction that maybe I expressed last season. But I really love this receiver, Jalen Waddle. I think he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. You have him at 11. So why I think this is pretty bold. He finished at wide receiver.
Real quick, where you have him?
17.
Okay.
He finished as wide receiver 12 in points per game. So you're right there. Like he finished close to where you have him ranked. So, but more importantly, was 10th highest in yards per reception for a wide receiver with 50 receptions plus.
Yep.
In the past 12 seasons. So the fun little side note, we've had this kind of run around before. 2021 Debo was 9th in this list. So he is in the top 10 of highest yards per reception in the past 12 seasons. He was 21st in yards after catch, only 114 targets. So my point is this doesn't feel sustainable. 2 of his games,
that is the
and
scary part. It is.
This is an unfair statement of what I'm going to say next. 2 of his games accounted for 27% of his fantasy points. So like that's huge, but it's not very fair because in any sort of athlete, in any sort of superstar, you're kind of hoping for those boom games. Mm-hmm. Weirdly though, in those same 2 games accounted for about 25% of his targets. One of them was Baltimore, and I can't think of the other game right now. Baltimore, he had 19 targets. Mm-hmm. These games will happen. I get it, but first year of McDaniel in offense. It's his first year coaching. Again, I'm a big fan of him even. Defenses are going to have to answer for this. They are going to have to prepare to guard Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And I'm not necessarily even shunning Tyreek Hill. I'm more of saying this is Tyreek first, maybe even a 1A, 1B situation. But if we want Waddle as a wide receiver 1, which you have him at wide receiver 11, but as a wide receiver 1, it's about on average 18.16 points per game. The median of that number, 17.62 points per game. Waddle last year had 15.2 points per game, which truthfully, that put him at wide receiver 12 in points per game. So
you're going to hate my rebuttal because it's very non-Cody. Because I'm always the stats guy, right?
Just makes
this
a
is very
noise
non-Cody.
with his mouth.
I think Jalen Waddle is a top 10 wide receiver in the league, and maybe much higher than that. I think he is an exceptionally good football player. Exceptionally good football player. I think we look at what he did with the targets because I think the targets are worrying. But I think we look at what he did with the targets, and my opinion is rather than saying, hey, he's going to be not as good a player, he warrants target share. And so I look at this offense and I look at the fact that Tyreek Hill got 170 targets last year. I think it's more likely that Tyreek Hill sees 150 and Waddle sees 135 or 155 and 130 than it is we see 115 targets for Jalen Waddle again. Everything you're saying is fair. Like I said, you're not going to like my argument because it doesn't have some of the statistical stuff I usually bring. Because you're right, the targets are worrying. He was a big play monster last year. All of those things are very, very true. I just think he's the real deal, and I'm not sure Tyreek Hill runs back 170 targets again.
Yeah, if that's the case, I mean, it changes everything. It's just hard to project that. I get it. It's
hard to project 170 targets for Tyreek for me. That's what's hard to project for me.
Is it?
That's a lot. It is for me.
It's also a McDaniel offense, though. They're going to spread the ball out. It's surprising they got rid of Gesicki. He couldn't figure that out. But they're going to spread the ball out to their running backs, too. They're talking about adding Dalvin Cook, which could even change things again. If the targets, Waddle's first year, he was a target machine and had none of these sort of metrics that he had. Completely different
offense. He
was
a less than 10 yards reception, I think.
Yeah,
so rookie year, he was like 9.
Now we have to determine what's the outlier, and I'm calling the outlier this year. I actually liked him as a possession receiver. I think it's more sustainable, and I like that. The fear is Tyreek for me and putting Jalen Waddle as a top 12.
And I want to be careful not to paint this as Tyreek falling off a cliff. 150 some targets is still going to put him top 5 in the league. I'm just saying, hey, he's not going to challenge for first in the league in targets this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Mario on this one. Quick review. My only thing is kind of hey, we don't know what Tua can do in the league for sure as a complete starter, new offense. We don't know how to play defense against it. And they got blown in like three or four games. They just got the secondary got blown. And I think there's big adjustments. And Hill, if they do adjust, I think Hill's a better guy underneath than Waddle is, to be completely honest. So I think he does more yards after the catch instead of more of deep passes. I like Waddle, but I don't see him as a wide receiver one this year.
Cody, I actually knew how to get like Alex, what the point I needed to make to get Alex on my side on this. So it was already cheating, because the moment I said McDaniel's offense there's going to be defenses understanding this offense is his first year offense.
Figuring out offense. He loves that.
Yeah, he loves it, dude. I had to add that for him. I was like, yeah.
You throw me the next year defense adjustment and offensive line. You got me.
Yeah, I hook, line, and sinker, baby.
Here's like sliding me a pepperoni pizza. Just
here's what I learned.
Hey.
Mario is very uncomfortable with a changing of the guard at some point at receiver, and not even a change in the guard, but a progression of young guys coming in outside of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Because the CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle hate for two absolute superstars. It's harsh.
CeeDee's legit. CeeDee is the truth.
I know. So maybe like I need to bite on one of these, because I actually like.
You know who to bite on.
You're bailing on young receivers who have already done it. It's super interesting.
You're bailing on the guy who was the best receiver in college, and the other guy who had 500 yards receiving in college his senior year, and 600 the year before.
Who, Waddle?
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
I mean, he was injured, but like he was a speed guy.
He's got 2,000.
Thank you. I tried to tell him I'm all in on Gary.
Yeah, it's because he's from Ohio
State.
All in
on Gary.
That's because he's an Ohio State wide receiver.
Yeah, but I'm not too crazy on Olave. All right. I think this is a good segue into what you're going to call me out on, Alex. I mean, it's a perfect segue because you're going to say I'm bailing on him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a changing of the guard at least here. It's at least a changing of the guard for him here. He's at least biting on that theory I pitched.
For some reason, Mario thinks Davante Adams falls off of a cliff, or he just jumps into a submarine that's going to implode. It doesn't make any sense how
too soon.
Yeah,
it's not.
Too soon.
It's not.
We just got canceled.
Zero sympathy for billionaires to go inside of a tube sock made out of aluminum and float down to the bottom of the freaking ocean to go see where other dead people made mistakes. No, thank you. That makes zero sense.
Mistakes. The Titanic people.
There wasn't enough lifeboats. How do you get on that? Yeah.
Well, that's the company's fault.
The captain knew. He was warned, and he.
For sure.
Forward. Not exactly marched. Sailed.
Yeah.
All right,
morons.
We could spin this off into a historical podcast if you guys would like, because I mean your love for this guy is history already.
Drunk history. I mean, Adams has been a top 5 wide receiver points per game for like 6 years in a row. It doesn't matter if Ray Charles and Helen Keller's at QB. This dude's going to be getting 160 targets, and he does everything and anything with those targets. He's the best route runner in the NFL. He's got arguably the best hands in the NFL. He's one of the toughest wide receivers. He doesn't get injured super often. I don't know how you put him at 12. Jimmy G supported good wide receivers. You know, he did. I mean, and
Debo made Jimmy G.
But
his yak was insane.
Ayuk was still a
15 to 20, yeah.
15 with Purdy. He was a flex. Not with Jimmy G.
He had Kittle.
What are you coming at with Jimmy G?
With Jimmy G, when he had Debo,
this sucks because
Kittle and Ayuk. Like, all those guys were fantasy relevant. I'm not saying Jimmy G's a stud, but if you're telling me that Jimmy G's a worse quarterback than Derek Carr right now, I'm going to say who knows? You don't. All we know is Jimmy G.
I know Jimmy G can't throw as far as Derek Carr.
It doesn't matter. Either can Tua.
I mean, but
it doesn't matter. Throwing the ball far doesn't mean anything. Not everybody's gonna be Justin Herbert and Josh Allen. It's just
but I think what is happening
tell Tom
here
Brady
is
about how far he can throw the football at 44 years old. And
that's not what I'm saying though. This is how Davante succeeded last year. It wasn't the same sort of success that we've seen in Green Bay. It wasn't. He had.
Oh my God.
You ready for it? Can I talk? He was tied for the 5th most for touchdown receptions over 40 yards in the past 12 years. The 5th most, tied with 3 other
This
people.
is Mario's favorite stat tonight.
It's such a
I
weird
did
off
it-
the
I did it
ball.
different. That was a different.
stat.
It was
Here's
a
the
different.
ones.
It was
one
yards
stat.
per reception. This is touchdowns of
Okay.
40 plus.
This is touchdowns. Okay.
And he had 5 of them last year, and he was tied for 5th in the past 12 years. You're hearing the 12 years thing. He's had one season where he's had 2 40-plus touchdowns.
Okay.
The rest, 0 and 1.
Okay.
He has 4 seasons where he had 0 of these touchdowns. And this dude is a touchdown machine. His yards per
6 years top 5. All those stats mean nothing.
I get it. It's Jimmy G, though. His yards per reception was 2 yards more than any other season. So, like, just a weird year for Davante Adams in general. It was different. And it was sustained because he had Derek Carr throwing him ball. We don't even know if Jimmy Garbaggio is going to be there week 1. He might not even play. And there is
Don't you
no
talk
way,
about cousin Jimmy like that. Don't you do it.
there's no way that Aiden O'Connor, is that his name? You're not going to tell me this no-name quarterback is going to it's going to be Carson Wentz. Do we still feel confident if it's Carson Wentz?
Like I said, you can throw Ray Charles and Helen Kellen back there, and he's top 10. Lock it in. You talk about all these stats that don't mean anything because he was still top 5.
The real truth.
This isn't even his best year points per game.
The truth is Jimmy Garoppolo has never put a wide receiver in the top 5. And if you say Debo and don't account that most of those points, I don't know if it was half. It was like maybe 35 to 40%.
Without the rushing, it wouldn't have been this.
It wouldn't have been there. It would have never been there. Jimmy G has never done this. And I get it. Davante is leaps better than Debo. I just don't see it, dude.
Kyle
and Jimmy G doesn't even. How many full seasons does Jimmy? How many full seasons? Oh, Shanahan's better. How many full seasons does Jimmy G have?
It doesn't matter if Shanahan's better. Shanahan runs the ball. Shanahan runs
1 or 2.
The Niners run the ball. They're top 5 in rushing. Every single year? So if you think, but
bringing up another
McDaniels
point.
likes to run the ball. But what I'm saying is, they don't have an Ayuk. They don't have a Kittle. Those guys aren't there.
Keep preaching it, because this team is going to be bad. Josh Jacobs might not even be there. Like, there's a good chance that Josh Jacobs might be there.
The Raiders are going to be good. What I'm saying is Jimmy G is better than what you think he is, and they are going to throw the ball because that division will end up being better than it was last year. They will have to throw the ball. I mean, I can get the argument of wide receiver 1 overall, but if you're having him not even in the top 10,
I have him in the top 12. I have him at 12 out of respect.
You have him 12 out of respect.
That's about wide receiver 1. That's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
Cody?
That's not out of respect.
Okay. I have issues with both of your arguments, and I'll hit them just lightly. Jimmy G will not play the whole year.
No way.
He's not going to play the whole year. And so even if you say Jimmy G can sustain a wide receiver, we have to know some part of the season Davante Adams is not going to see Jimmy Garoppolo passes, regardless of what you think of Jimmy G. And Mario, in your case, I understand the metrics you're using. I understand the things you're looking at. If we look across the board at the player and where the fantasy points came from, and those things played a part, he still caught 100 passes just like he had the year before. He still had 1,500 yards just like he did the year before. He still had double-digit touchdowns just like he did before. So even if he did it in weird ways, which you could say, hey, these are going to be hard to repeat, it still stands that he hit all of the same statistical metrics as he did previously. It's not like all of a sudden he had 2,200 yards and he's never done that before.
So different.
Just different. He still hit all the same metrics, and not to this like crazy level. He didn't have 20. He didn't have 20 touchdowns. He didn't have 2,200 yards. He did what Davante Adams always did. You don't love the way he did it, but he did what he always done. And so
before you make your ruling, I just want to say, is this sustainable? Is him having to literally carry the team on his back sustainable?
But we don't know that he has to do that. He did it last year. We don't know that he has to do that. Because throughout his career, he hasn't shown that he's had to be that.
Right.
He gets to those numbers.
Give it to me.
Different. Yeah. Here's the thing. Alex is too high on him. But I have to make my ruling based on who the accusation is against, and it's against the wide receiver 12 ranking of Mario Camara, and it's dead wrong.
Yeah. You're crazy.
This is a good one because I'm actually right in between you guys. You guys are like so ends of the spectrum.
We literally are the ends.
Yeah.
We're the ends of
Yeah.
a wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
Yep.
Crazy.
We got one more, boys. Cody, take us home.
Yeah.
Country roads.
Yeah, this one, and I keep doing this. I dig myself a hole, but I pride myself on transparency. This is a player I'm high on, and I will acknowledge that. But bear in mind, as I just stated, this is not an indictment on my ranking. It's an indictment on the ranking of Mr. Alex, who has Jahmyr Gibbs at running back 24. Running back 24. In a league where we see the devaluing of running backs, we see somebody who was taken 12th overall, just a few picks behind the amazing Bijan Robinson that some people have ranked as RB1, taken just a few picks behind. We hear all the chatter out of training camp of, hey, this guy is going to be used as a receiver, going to be utilized in all of these really cool ways. When you see such a devalued position and the team put that type of investment of 12th overall pick into a running back, I think at the minimum, you rank him as a healthy Swift because they clearly think he can be everything DeAndre Swift is. And we have to assume health unless it's DeAndre Swift, which we don't have to. To me, that is the floor you rank him at. And I don't know exactly what you ranked Swift at last year, but he was ranked much higher than running back 24. And so in what world this guy who's stepping into this PPR role, talked about as a receiver, massive draft capital from his team, and a player behind him that I'm personally not scared of from a talent perspective, I do not see RB24 at all for the investment made in this player.
Okay.
Did you like my...
Yeah. Excuse me, counselor. I like Jahmyr Gibbs for what his ceiling can be. My points are with it is I don't love running back transfers most of the time. Just like I don't love Charbonnet. He was barely better than the running back at Alabama last year. He did more damage on the receiving side. He is not a better runner than DeAndre Swift. Plain and simple, he's not. DeAndre Swift was a better running back in college, and it wasn't close. So
I need him to be a better runner. I need him to be a better runner.
But what I'm saying is you're expecting Austin Eckler. Is what I'm saying is really similar to.
I don't expect RB1 Austin Eckler, but I expect that role.
Yeah, because Austin Eckler. I think it's a possibility. If that were to happen, and I'm not saying David Montgomery's drastically better. I haven't seen enough from his college tape. Again, this is from an Alabama team that always has a good offensive line. He wasn't drastically better than the guy that was right behind him. To where I'm going to put him in the RB1 territory. He's on my low end RB2 territory. I would like to see him be up there. I think he can be fun to watch. I just don't know if he's.
You don't think he's very fun to watch?
I think he's fun to watch, but I'm also like I don't know what it's going to look like on an NFL level because in college it's different. He's not as good of a runner as DeAndre Swift, and the reason why DeAndre Swift finished where he did last year is because he could still be very efficient running the ball.
Well, I mean,
it was.
I disagree. DeAndre Swift has been productive from a fantasy perspective because he's a receiver, and he's been productive only when healthy. Injuries have been what held Swift back. Swift was a borderline RB1 in drafts last year, and he's been on a points per game basis. That's been a normal place for DeAndre Swift in this role that I think Jahmyr Gibbs just steps right into. And if anything, the flip side of what you're saying, he's not as good a runner. But if anything, I think Gibbs is more of a passing weapon, which is the part I care about more.
I want to know what Alex thinks his targets are going to be. Gibbs.
I don't know. Without me looking at anything, I'm going to guess probably.
DeAndre Swift was 70 last year.
Yeah, I was going to say probably around.
In how many games?
70. Swift played actually decent games.
Yeah, it does. It shows him in 14 games.
Yeah, he actually played
14
a decent
games,
amount
and
of
you said
games last
70,
year.
so you're probably looking at a low 90s pace.
If he plays every game, which I don't know how many running backs play. I mean, realistically, play 17 games. I don't think he's DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift is a better back. I think the issues with Swift is going to be similar issues that they had with Jahmyr Gibbs. And, when he is healthy, is he going to feel comfortable enough running in between the tackles, which DeAndre Swift loved to bounce it out. I think Swift's a better back. I honestly think he's a better back. I think he's going to have Gibbs is going to have opportunities. I don't know if he's better than David Montgomery, and I don't think he's good enough on the ground to take those carries away from David Montgomery.
But he gets 100.
David Montgomery's an upgrade from Jamal Williams for me. Plain and simple.
So
do you think he gets
ahead.
100 rushes, Gibbs?
I don't know. I think that's not a bad number. I think it could be around that.
That's pretty low, right? Like that's
an extremely low number to me.
That's a little more than 5-6 a game.
If you play 17
I
games,
think
yes, I think he'll get 100 touches. But like if you could, do I think he does 130 carries? Do I think he's on pace for 130, 140 carries this season? I don't think so. It's just really hard for me to see the efficient. DeAndre Swift got a lot of crap, and obviously the Lions wanted to move off of him, but he was super efficient when he had the ball. He was very efficient. You would look at his stats and you would look at his efficiency and say, why did the Lions get rid of him? And it's obviously injury concerns and some type of running. They didn't think he was tough enough. Jahmyr Gibbs is not bigger. He is a little faster, maybe. But
he's faster and he averaged over 10 yards a reception. I know it's college, but he averaged over 10 yards a reception, which running backs don't do. Well, then why are you telling me that he didn't look that great in college if you don't care about college? You either care or you don't.
How you game plan in college doesn't matter as a running back. If they line you up at receiver for a third of the time you play, then that's not going to be super it doesn't mean he is good, but he was nowhere near as good as DeAndre Swift in college. Plain and simple, he wasn't. You know who also almost averaged 10 yards per catch in college? DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, so all of this, what you're saying, I'm saying he's Swift, and so by you saying they average the same, it doesn't really negate my case.
I don't think he's Swift.
If you're saying they average the same in college, and that's your big case,
what I'm saying is, as a runner, DeAndre Swift was better in college, more efficient, more yards per carry, more touchdown and more touches. And in the NFL, he was one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL last year, 5.5 yards per carry, efficient with receiving the ball. To where, do I think Gibbs has a potential to be in that discussion of where he takes over the DeAndre Swift role and is a RB2 in the RB2 conversation? Sure. I'm just saying he's a low-end RB2 for me right now. I don't think he's DeAndre Swift.
Swift's last year, he averaged 6.2 per carry, 9.0 per rush. Last year, Gibbs averaged 6.1 per carry, a massive point per carry, 6.1. So 0.1 difference in rushing
with 196
10.1 in receiving.
196 touches, bell cow in the high. He was arguably going to be the first or second running back drafted and is a better rusher with Gibbs.
But this idea that Swift did so much more in college, effectiveness-wise, he just wasn't.
So better.
He was no more effective.
What Georgia had as a team in 2019 compared to what Alabama's their recruiting classes and what they have as a team, it's a lot different. He had 6 in his second year. He had 6.5 or 6.4 yards, and his freshman year he had almost 8 yards per carry. His freshman year. I'm just saying, I think Gibbs is talented. I think he might be a little overvalued. I think the Lions reach for him. I don't care where he was drafted. That means nothing to me. It honestly doesn't. I watched N'Keal Harry get drafted in the first round. I'm just being honest. It doesn't.
But a running back
12th
overall is different.
It could be stupid. Different could be literally replaced for dumb.
I have a point here to add because I think I have my verdict. I
don't think Alex's stats are true. It's all lies. I debunked it.
What's not true?
It's all lies.
Well, wait, I do have to say this. I'm going to add to the confusion and add to the mess.
He's not more efficient than DeAndre Swift was in college.
Alex has Gibbs at RB24. That's our case here.
Yes.
We asked
I know
Alex,
where
the defendant, a couple questions on what he foresees Gibbs' upcoming season roughly. With that, we took targets 65 and over, and then we took rushes 90 and over, and there have been 3 running backs out of 70 in the past 12 seasons that have finished outside the top 24. And that's 27, 25th, and 24. And those running backs, Dion Lewis, Chase Edmonds, and Duke Johnson. So, with that being said, if we expect Gibbs to get that amount of targets and close to 90 rushes, 90 to 100 rushes, there's a good chance just by fantasy stats alone, he finishes above the RB24 rank. And I have to give this round to Cody.
I get it. I don't hate the player. I don't. I have him RB20. I have him as an RB2.
Yeah.
You hate him.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
You hate him a lot.
Yeah, I was going to
You
say
hate-
it. I'm not
You actually
mad
didn't even
where
wish
I
him
have
happy
him.
birthday.
Huh?
You didn't even wish him happy birthday or anything. Like, you hate him.
Cody, aren't you a summer birthday?
Yeah.
Did it
The old
pass?
July 13th. Don't forget it, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I'd ask
to
my wife
kind
how
of
old I
like
was gonna
touch
be.
on
That's
it, it's
Thursday. You might
like
be on that episode.
Cody has him up 12. So he has him as a low end RB1, and I think that's his ceiling.
Yeah, I think 12 or 13 is
That's
where I'm
the
going to
same.
land. I'm at 12.
Unless he's a
and I
dog.
think
Yeah,
12 or
I
13
think
is where I'm going to land.
I think you're.
Unless David Montgomery gets injured, it's not. But we'll see. I hope to see. I love this Lions offense. You guys already know I've been high on the Lions the last 2 years. I hope to see something crazy with it. I just need to see it.
Oh,
I didn't see a ton in college.
boys.
He's great with the ball in his hands. It's just
You're gonna see it.
I hope
You're gonna see it.
I hope so.
I really had fun this episode. It was a good time.
Was fun.
I enjoyed it. I think we split decision, every one of us, which is not how we were. We did not decide to do that. I'm pretty sure it was split decision all around. So I guess that makes us all 1-1 as we go into the next debate gates throughout the season. Last note is we will be working on some rankings updates. We want to add more. We want to get you ready for your draft. So keep an eye out on our Twitter for that. Make sure we've been begging people to subscribe to our YouTube so we can finally have a YouTube
It's been a climbing.
web link.
Yeah.
It's been a climb.
We got about 10 here
So-
in the last week, which is good for us. 10 new ones, I mean.
We've made it.
Yeah, we're freaking cruising, boys.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So on that note, we love you guys. For myself, for Mudcat, for Alex, peace.
See ya.
Got it. Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.